welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass Podcast. I'm Randon. We've got a full house tonight. Both Dustin and Ryan are in the house, and we are on the home stretch. 6 games remaining on the schedule. The playoffs loom large. Gentlemen, welcome in. How you doing tonight?
It feels so good to be a Mammoth fan and say the playoffs loom large rather than last year, like, you're probably not making it. So if that feels a lot better. I feel good.
You know, getting sick here, but other than that, doing good. The Mammoth are looking good right now. That's a positive. The playoff race is tight, but we do have a good little like a lead, I guess we could call it that, considering everyone behind us kind of is fumbling with themselves.
Not just any lead, a 5-point lead with 6 games remaining for most teams other than the San Jose Sharks. So a slim margin, but a margin for error nonetheless. And this is where it really gets crunch time. Like, this has been something we've talked about a lot, where every game, it seems like, for the past 3 months has been a must-win game, right? Like, that's the situation the Mammoth have been in with how tight this race has been for basically the entire season. And the way the Mammoth have played, inconsistencies abound. And so it's always been just these key moments, these key stretches. And this week is no different, right? Like, this road trip went so well. We beat Los Angeles, which we talked about last week. We beat Vancouver. We beat Seattle. We crushed them. Shaky, yes. But at the end of the day, the score left no doubt. Like, we beat 2 inferior teams. But now we've got a 3-game stretch against Edmonton Oilers, which we have never beat, the Nashville Predators, who are fighting for that playoff spot themselves, and the Carolina Hurricanes, which are one of the best teams in the East. So a big week coming up, all 3 at home, where hit or miss at home. But before we talk about that stretch, guys, excellent play in Seattle, excellent play in Vancouver. With the injuries that happen, lineups shaken, Spicy Tuna getting a goal, what were some of your highlights from these last 2 games that you saw out of the Mammoth?
Maybe I'm mixing up this week with a previous week, but it feels like every game, like exiting the first period with somebody on like hat trick watch. It was like we had Gunther. I feel like Schmaltz was in there, maybe not Schmaltz. Kerfoot was on hat trick watch, and then Keller got one last night, so just scoring in bunches. I mean, when you're going over a 3-game road stretch, and you outscore your opponents, 19-8? Like, you score 19 goals over a 3-game stretch, like, you're coming away from that feeling pretty good about just about everything. I guess really the only thing that we're worried about or feeling bad about is the status of McBain and Weegar. But Weegar's like day-to-day, so I'm not too worried about him. I am a little concerned with the week-to-week designation of McBain, but overall, it's all sunshine and rainbows in Mammothon right now.
Weegar and McBain going down does suck, but Marino and Schmidt have been playing out of their minds for pretty much the whole year as our 2 best defensemen anyways. Sergachev and Dursey don't really matter anyways. You know, with those 2 guys going down, it does suck, but I think we should be okay. I mean, if Tuna scoring a goal, we're going to be all right, right?
You gotta love it when Spicy Tuna scores a goal, especially when it's a Brandon Tanev assist to Spicy Tuna. Somebody posted that was truly Vancouver's lowest point of the season, which you gotta pay attention to the Mammoth games to fully understand that particular jab at Vancouver. But yeah, like that's kind of been one of the issues with this team is, and you hear the cliche a lot, is like next man up, right? Like a guy goes down and you just got to step up. And we've had some great stretches, like without Cooley and without some key players. Sergachev goes down and the team plays great. But then other moments, you're just like, I'm really missing that guy. And so hopefully the McBain loss, which I think is huge. Weegar, I'm so torn, right? Like, Weegar is one of those defensemen
you guys doing that on purpose? Is that a joke? Like, are you guys calling him Weegar is that a joke?
What's his name?
Like, it's Uyghur.
I just pronounced it weird the first time. The second time I said it, I said Uyghur.
All right, I thought I was missing a bit for a minute. I was like, can we let me in on something?
Uyghur?
Like,
his name's Uyghur?
Yes.
No, Weegar.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
I think there's a species of fish called a gar, and I was trying to work in a Weegar joke somewhere. So
Listen,
we go together.
It just didn't work.
if Steve Levy can call Carcone, I can call Uyghur.
That might be my Mammoth highlight of the year was Carcone. That was
Carcone,
top
and
notch.
hey, Uyghur, the youth of the nation. Yeah, somebody
There we
bookmarked
go.
that one.
You found it.
We're
So
getting sued. We're getting
Mackenzie,
trademarked.
Mackenzie Uyghur, right, is one of those defensemen who's like, he's been good defensively, but his struggles in Calgary offensively have remained with him in Utah. Now, I don't think we'd lean on him for scoring like we do a Sergachev and what Durzi wants to be. And really what like Marino has been excellent offensively. Like Marino's just, like you said, Ryan, he's been the best defenseman we've had on our team all year. And so it's like when Mackenzie goes down, it's like, I'm really not as concerned, especially because Nick DeSimone has played so great in his time on the ice that like that doesn't concern me. But the McBain injury, even having a down year, like McBain is a hard player to replicate on the ice. Like he hasn't quite lived up to his offensive potential this year. But you're trying to replace his physicality with that duo of Tanev and Liam O'Brien. And so that has worked in the small sample size. Again, though, the problem is Seattle and Vancouver are two bad teams. Like Seattle's like not quite bad, but Vancouver's the worst team in the league, right? Like despite them beating Colorado, it still doesn't make them anything more than literally the worst team in the league. And we allowed them to score 4 goals. And so that's where it's concerning to me. And it's like, I watch in the Seattle game, and without the overturning of a goal, like we could have watched that one slip away. But when we get that called back, it kind of changes the entire momentum. And then the Mammoth put their foot on Seattle's throat and didn't let go. And that's one of the things that this team has kind of struggled to do, is pull away from teams, which they've done now 3 games straight, is pull away from teams. And that's been great to watch if it continues.
And also in that same vein, like we fell behind in both of those games, 2 minutes into the Seattle game and 40 seconds into the Canuck game. Like what I would really like to see at that point is like Utah just playing like they're in a battle for the wildcard 1 spot and come out and just like establish their, like set the tone, right? But they don't, and then they kind of have to fight back from it. And they're much better than those two teams. And like Seattle's lost something like 12 of their last 15, and only 2 of those losses are like OT losses where they're getting a loser point. Like they're not playing good hockey right now. Like those are 2 really bad teams right now, and you're letting them kind of set the pace, which was especially concerning in that Vancouver game because they're eliminated. Like they're done. Like there are teams like Calgary that aren't technically eliminated, but they're not making the playoffs. Like, but Vancouver's one of like 3 teams in the league that's mathematically actually firmly eliminated, and you let them set the tone. Like it was, I think they had 7 shots on goal and a goal before we put 1 on goal. Like you can't let a team like Vancouver set the pace like that. So if there is like a little bit of a nitpicky thing that I'm not liking, that would be one of them.
Let me ask you guys, and I want your honest opinions here. Are you concerned at all about Vejmelka?
A little bit. Not.
He's sort of back to the same, like he'll make an amazing save that gets you jumping off your couch. Like, how did he save that? And then just let in like the softest, like what is he doing type goal. So like it is a little bit concerning because he was in like a really solid, he was playing really, really well a few weeks ago, but he has sort of kind of slipped back to that what are you doing occasionally sort of goaltending.
I would be a lot less concerned if Vanacek didn't suck so much and we had a reliable backup. But like Dustin was saying, there's some moments where he is the goalie of the year and he's standing on top of his head and he's a true number 1. And then there are days where I'll just look at the TV and not even know what to say and be like, how the do you let that go in? Like, his rebound control hasn't been great. Getting a little wild, a little squirrely out there. I think he's not looking for a goaltender interference, but it kind of feels like he is because every time he lets in a bad goal, he looks over at the ref or at a defenseman like it's their fault. And it's like, come on, buddy. Some of these are on you.
You know what's wild is over his last 6 starts, he's 5-1. and he's got, if you go all the way back to March 16th, his stats look great, .907 save percentage, 2.58 goals against. And then if you go just a couple games further, though, it plummets down to .887 and 3.12 goals against. So just that one game, he just had the outstanding. I'd have to look up to see which game it was back in the middle of March, but he's getting the wins, right? Which is what you want at the end of the day. You want Karel Vejmelka to get wins, but I suspect that he's going to be ridden hard these last 6 games. If Vanecek gets 2 starts, I would be shocked. If Vanecek gets 1 start, I would be surprised. I can absolutely 100% see a world where Veggie plays all 6 games, even the back-to-back, especially if these first 3 games don't go as planned. Like, Vanecek would likely see the net against Calgary, but don't be surprised if Veggie plays all 6 of these games. And if he can't find that solidarity, now you could argue the defense or whatever is not playing in front of him. At least the offenses, he's getting, again, run support by a mile that Vanecek doesn't get. I mean, this team offensively is helping Veggie plug some of those gaps that he has in his game so that they don't matter in the long run. But come playoff time, you're going to be playing a team that is more than capable of exploiting you if you have some bad games. And it's a small sample size, right? You're only guaranteed 4. So Veggie has done enough to get the wins, but I'm with you guys. I would like to see him just, if he has that next gear, now's the time to show it.
I will give some props just on the topic of goalie play and defense. Our defense is really, really good. I believe we're 4th in the league in terms of goals against. Despite goaltending play, which has been sort of hit or miss, the defense as a whole is really good. Utah does control the puck in the offensive zone a lot. That helps also. So the defense can help either one of those 2 goalies. That the defense has been really good this year.
So now let's look ahead at the next 3 games. We play the Edmonton Oilers, who, again, we have not beaten them once this season. Then we play the Nashville Predators in a game, Dustin, that you wanted to see the Utah Mammoth just come out from the get-go and just crush Nashville's hopes and dreams. And then we play the Carolina Hurricanes. We also have the Calgary Flames in there on that Sunday on the second half of the back-to-back, a team that we've historically had their number, but they finally got one against us this season. But I want to start with the Edmonton game. This, I think, is the most important game of the season in these last 6 games to at the very least say, Edmonton, we can play against you. I think all of the Mammoth faithful want to see Anaheim in that first round. I think we match up the best against Anaheim, even though we've played great against Las Vegas. Certainly I don't give us a chance in hell of beating Edmonton. I give us a better chance against Colorado than I do against Edmonton in the first round. But if you can go in and at least show Mammoth fans at the Delta Center a possible preview of that first round, and you can finally beat the Edmonton Oilers and figure it out, that's going to be a huge momentum boost. Not only gets you 1 game closer to securing the playoffs, but it shows that we can literally beat any team that we play against. We would have beaten at least once all 4 of our potential first round matchup opponents, unless we lose to the Edmonton Oilers. Do you guys think am I overhyping this game?
No, we kind of do need to beat them because it's a potential first round matchup. And being it's the last, 4 games of the season, 5 games, 6 games, whatever, we need all the wins we can get, especially over teams we might be facing in the playoffs, because any momentum we can take into the playoffs is going to be huge.
In 2 games, we've been outscored 11-5. If it's a potential first round matchup, you have to find some measure of success against that team, right? You have to go into that series believing that you can compete with that team. And if they come out and they put another shellacking on you and you lose 7-2, 6-1, 6-3, whatever, kind of like we have to them forever, you're not going into that matchup with much confidence. But if you go out there, and I'm guessing Ingram is probably going to start that game because it's at home. He's not having to play in front of the Delta Center crowd. I'm guessing that Ingram plays in that game. And if you can go out there and kind of just like establish yourself and say like, hey, we know you and we know your strengths. We know your weaknesses. We know how to score on you, just like we did. Like that gives you confidence and maybe also places like a little bit of twinge of doubt in Connor Ingram's head, because it's going to be him in net probably every game, I would guess, in the playoffs. So if you can do that, that's really important for a team that you might match up with in the first round.
Yeah, I don't see a world where Tristan Jarry gets a playoff start, at least not in the first round, barring a monumental collapse by Connor Ingram. But that's an excellent point of we did not see Connor Ingram, and I would imagine they would give him the net on Tuesday, but I guess we could see Tristan Jarry again. But if we do, you have to make up for the mistakes of your last matchup where you couldn't even get a shot on goal, let alone getting one through. Like, you've got to find a way to generate shots. And again, Edmonton's playing without Leon Draisaitl, who they will have for that first round matchup. So if you can't stop Connor McDavid by himself, how in the world are you going to stop both McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? That's the question. I just think that this team right now, with how young they are, if their first appearance in the playoffs is against a team that they have not been able to beat, I don't know if they're capable of shaking off the demons. And I don't know if Andre Tourigny is in a place to get them to the point that they could shake off those demons. I think that will just weigh too heavily. It'll be a monkey on their back. I would not be surprised if we play Edmonton, if we get swept. And that would be sad, because I think we're all hoping for, if we go out, at least a gentleman's sweep. We at least get one playoff victory. But if we lose to Edmonton on Tuesday, it really depends on who wins the Pacific, because right now it is a 3-horse race that I don't know who's going to win. Vegas is playing out of their mind, but
not only a 3-horse race, but Anaheim seems completely uninterested in winning that division. Like they're going out there. They lost to Calgary last night, I believe, and they just show no interest in winning that. I don't know if they're kind of trying, well, we don't want to play Utah, so let's drop a game here and there and let Edmonton, whatever. But yeah, they don't seem very interested. But maybe we can help them out and give Edmonton 0 points in our matchup.
I wonder if the chickens are finally coming home to roost on Anaheim, where it's just like nobody really saw this turnaround to this magnitude. And maybe it's finally like, okay, we realize all season Anaheim has been punching above their weight class, and now we're finally exposing them. And really, it just says unfortunate things about the Western Conference, specifically the Pacific, but it may just be chickens coming home to roost here.
It's five straight losses, and only one of them was in overtime. So they've got 1 out of a possible 10 points in their last 5 games. And there's some good teams. They've lost to Edmonton, they lost to San Jose, but like they've also lost to Calgary and Toronto and St. Louis. So it's not as if they just went out there and they lost to Colorado and then Dallas and then Vegas. Like they're not playing the cream of the crop, as it were.
Just a complete 180 from what they have expected to now what their fans like. And I wonder, as fans, because we kind of, you can draw some parallels between Utah fans and Anaheim fans, where it's like, Anaheim, I don't know if you asked Anaheim at the beginning of the season if their fans actually expected playoffs. I think you would be torn. That maybe some would say, we're hoping for the playoffs, but we're certainly not expecting it. Where the Mammoth, we went into the season expecting the playoffs. And so as fans, could you be able to go back in time and be like, I would have just been grateful to be here? Instead, though, you've seen how good your team can play, and now you're seeing the team not play that great. Like, that's frustrating, and that's what Mammoth fans have had to deal with all season, is we've seen how good this team can be, and we've seen how bad this team can be. And that's what makes it frustrating, is because they can't just be consistently good. They have been great, and they have been really bad. Like, that's been the spectrum for the Mammoth. And I think Anaheim fans, I feel for you if you're frustrated about this, even though going into the season you had very little expectations for this type of success. I can feel for you if you're like really upset that your team is now choosing to the bed, even though they were expected to not be in this position at all anyway.
I mean, it doesn't help that Cutter Gautier's out for however long. He was kind of like their best player. And Gudas is playing through an injury and his pride getting, beat up by Max Domi. I think these next few games, we have to keep rolling. Like, we're on a 2-game win streak. Offense has been rolling good. We just have to keep it going. And Edmonton is going to be the toughest game we have left, probably. But I think if we can win the Edmonton game, that's at least a positive going into the playoffs.
Absolutely. And you only need to win 3, right? To guarantee a wild card spot, you only need to win 3. Even if LA and Nashville and even St. Louis or San Jose win all of their games, which they can't physically win all their games because the 3 of those teams play each other. So you can't. But you only need 3 wins. 6 points gets you into the playoffs, and 7 or 8 guarantees wild card 1. So those are the stakes. So you could say Edmonton matters philosophically, but in terms of just focusing entirely on making the playoffs, you still have 5 other games to play, but that Edmonton game is huge. Now you've got Nashville coming in on Thursday. And Nashville, again, is a team that is still fighting for their playoff life as well, right there with it with Los Angeles. And the Predators play the Kings, then they play Anaheim, and then they play us. So that is a stretch of 3 games that are not the easiest games. And then you got to go play Minnesota after us, and then you get San Jose and Anaheim to end the season. So Nashville's obviously got a much tougher schedule than us. And I mean, relatively tougher than us. But if you're a Nashville fan, you're looking at this and saying you're circling the Utah, the Los Angeles, and the San Jose game as the 3 most important games on your schedule, because those are the games that you can swing points. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but in the Nashville-Utah series, the home team still has not won a game, which does not bode well for Utah being the home team. So that swing, if you lose to Edmonton and then lose to Nashville, yes, mathematically you're still fine. But that has a looming game against Carolina. That's really unfortunate, because then if something crazy happens, you could be in wild card 1 on Sunday when you got to go into a must win against Calgary in Calgary. And that's a lot different than looking at it as if we beat Calgary, we secure it. I'm confident against Nashville, but Nashville's played great hockey lately. You guys concerned at all about the Nashville game, or still confident that we're going to go in rolling?
I'm not concerned as long as we win. But if we go into it playing and they get off to an early lead, and then I'm going to start getting very concerned. But if we go in and just start rolling over them like we have been the last few games, even if we get off to a slow start and just come back and stuff, if we look good, it's fine. But if that could be a huge swing game to where if we lose that, it could all go downhill from there.
Yeah, and like I said in the last episode, that's their 3rd game in 4 nights at the end of a long 6-game road trip. They should be theoretically a little bit tired, a little bit worn down. They should have tired legs. You should be able to both come out and establish the tone in that one and get off to a good start. And then in the 3rd period, you should have better, stronger, faster, more relaxed, and more awake legs. And so you should be able to put it away. Just based on that alone, and the fact that I think Utah's just better than Nashville, they should win that game. But anything can happen in hockey. It's a little scary just because of that. But I feel confident in that game. If I were a betting man, I'm definitely taking Utah on that one. And that's not just because I'm a homer and I want Utah to win. I'm a very good bettor. I make a lot of money betting money and wagering money. So when I tell you I'd bet on Utah, it's a good bet, but it's not a guarantee because anything can happen. But yeah, Utah should win that game just based on what they're going through right now alone.
I've seen him win a lot of money, folks. I've seen Dustin win countless tens of dollars, literally tens of dollars. My man, Dustin, and that's a lot of kizash. But I've got to go negative because every time I predict the Mammoth to win a stretch of games, they always lose those stretch of games. And then when I predict them to lose the stretch of games, they win the stretch of games. Now, the Mammoth have already crushed my fantasy hockey hopes and dreams. All I needed was for all of our star players to have completely terrible games, But then we still win, and my fantasy hockey hopes and dreams are alive. Well, it turns out the Utah Mammoth players were more concerned about winning and making the playoffs than fulfilling my fantasy hopes and dreams. So I hope that they continue that and dominate Nashville and Edmonton, and then setting the stage against a Carolina team that is already a lock for the playoffs, maybe fighting for seeding, but when they're a lock, then they start to think about, okay, maybe we don't give our best players that extra minute or two time on ice. You start this late in the season, you start thinking about, oh, do these guys need rest? Do they not need rest? Is it better to play them more? Is it better to play them less? And you start to, at least the coach has to be thinking about that. I'm sure the players will tell you, just play me my regular minutes. I'm a gamer. That's what I want to do. But from a coach, like, you kind of, I would assume, start thinking about it. And so are you going to get Carolina's best effort in that game? Maybe not. But Carolina also had that nightmare scenario where they came back and beat us in regulation. So as long as we can avoid that collapse. But if we collapse against Edmonton, then we collapse against Nashville, we collapse against Carolina. Now on the back half of a back-to-back, you're staring down the barrel of a must-win against Calgary to even stay in the hunt. And that would be a nightmare scenario that, at least so far through the month of April, the Mammoth don't seem like they're going to. Now, I haven't really liked the way we've played against Seattle and Vancouver, and we're playing three teams that can definitely capitalize on us if we play that way. But we've put up so many goals. Our shots are going in, and I don't know whose dead horse needs to be beaten. But guys, do we finally have a power play that works? Or is this a fluke? What's happening? Special teams is actually working for the first time in, I don't know, ever, even going back to last year. Like, this is the greatest timeline for the Mammoth. If your power play continues to rock and roll, like, you're going to win these games. What is the explanation other than just Cooley going to power play one, which has happened before? But is that the only explanation? Like, or things just, shots are going in?
And right now, shots are just going in. They're scoring a lot of goals over the last 4. It's basically been since Hayton went out. They're just scoring a lot. Like, even the game against Washington, we lost. We still scored 4 goals. It's like 23 over our last 4 games. Like, they're still scoring goals. And when you're scoring goals and you're seeing the puck hit the back of the net, that gives you confidence and it makes you able to score more goals. And so, like, maybe that confidence is just bleeding into the special teams. But I feel like Cooley's got like 3 or 4 of the power play goals that we've scored since he came in. So, like, it has a lot to do with him because he's doing a lot of the scoring. But just imagine taking a player the quality of Hayton off of power play 1 and putting one on who's the caliber of Cooley, and it sort of has an impact. Imagine that, right?
Well, since March 10th, we're the 3rd best power play in the league, behind only Carolina, and wouldn't you know it, the Vancouver Canucks. Carolina's power play playing exceptionally well as of late, which is concerning. But yeah, since about a month ago, and actually, if you look at it through April, the Utah Mammoth have the 2nd best power play in the league, going back to March 21st. We're almost tied with the Carolina Hurricanes, batting 47.4% since March 21st. Now, that's only a sample size of 6 games, but still, over the past 6 games, almost batting 50% on the power play. That has got to be the best 6-game stretch in franchise history in terms of the power play. Cooley's been right there. Like, that, I mean, you can't deny that he has had an impact, and the pace of that power play, the offensive zone time has been up. And when Hayton comes back, I imagine that Turney doesn't make any changes and Hayton goes to power play 2 and Cooley stays up until he has a bad game. And then I assume he's going to flip it on its head.
Filthy casual. Turney doesn't decide who's on power play 1. You casual, uninformed clown. You probably don't recognize what that is. I sent a tweet about how Utah's success in the power play since being forced to put Cooley on power play 1 is justification enough to get him fired. And I had a bunch of people, like, in my mentions, like, he's not in charge of who's on power play 1. Like, I know that power play coaches exist. You're fool if you don't think the head coach is deciding who's on his power play.
Maybe that's why it's so bad, though. Maybe they can't decide. Maybe Turney's like, what am I going to do? I'm not the special teams coach. How can I fix this? I'm just a head coach. Maybe that's the problem.
I mean, it's a good time for the power play to get hot. But what I like is that it's been a lot of the spread out goals. It's not just Cooley and Keller and Gunther. Yamamoto's getting in there and getting a goal. Tuna's getting a goal. Tana's getting an assist. Everybody's getting in on it. And that is something you need in the playoffs is you can't just rely on your top line. And Edmonton has been a prime example. They have tried to rely on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl for 3 years in a row, and it hasn't worked out for them in the playoffs. Not saying that we're going to beat Edmonton if we have to meet them, but the best way to beat Edmonton is to have four effective lines that are scoring. And I don't know if we have 4 effective lines that are scoring, but we have 3 lines that are getting the job done.
Well, since the middle of March, about a month ago, every player on the team, with the exception of Daniil Boot, who only had 1 game anyway, has a point. Every single one of them. For the guys who have only played 1 game, they still have a point. Liam O'Brien has a point. Nick DeSimone has a point. And everybody else is just churning it out, and your best players, Mikhail Sergachev, Clayton Keller, Dylan Gunther, Logan Cooley, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Krause are all up there in the top of the scoring charts for the Mammoth, over the past month. So this has been good in terms of you're getting production, like you said, Ryan, throughout your lineup, but you're also getting the people who need to step up and do it are doing it. Like, this has been offensively phenomenal to see. A little bit of some defensive liabilities, but nothing wrong with that.
That's all Sean Durzee's fault. That's because Nick DeSimone doesn't get the playing time over Durzi because Durzi has the bigger contract.
Durzi has been pretty darn good lately. I will say that because I've been very vocal about the fact that he's dog shit at hockey, but for the last little bit, he's been pretty good. I will defend him just slightly.
Plus minus is never a stat you can hang your hat on, but -3 over his last 9, Sean Durzi. So
I care about his plus minus.
Weegar, +5.
I care about what he looks like on the ice, and Sean Durzi looks like, as Dustin said, and I quote, dog shit on the ice.
Sometimes. I will agree with Dustin. I think he has improved recently, and maybe I'm trying to decide how I want to frame this, because I don't think Durzi really cares, in terms of his production. I think he's not reading our tweets. He's not scouring Twitter to see who likes him or hates him or anything. Most NHL players, I assume, are above the noise. But you can't help but have that nagging feeling in the back of your mind that of all the defensemen on the ice, you are at any moment in time the biggest defensive liability of the 6 of them. And you're then hoping, and one of his problems, I think, is he tries to do way too much offensively. He pinches down low way too often. And then he has to come flying back down the ice to try to get back in position, and it just doesn't work out for him. And I think that's what Durzi's problem is he thinks he's too good offensively, or the coaching scheme wants to use him like he's better offensively. He's not an offensive slouch, right? He puts up points, but he's not our number 1 offensive option. And as long as he gets that out of his head, I think he can start to settle down and play a little better defensively. But we've never really had a defensive core that's let's be stay-at-home defensemen. Right? Our entire offensive scheme relies on defensemen pinching and joining the offensive rush and playing in the offensive zone. And then it's just a matter of if forwards recognize that and understand when they need to come back so it doesn't lead to an odd man rush the other way. I want to move on to another big storyline that just broke today, Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, past tense for everybody who celebrated the other day. We had another coaching change from another team who's in the playoffs. And this one really impacts the Utah Mammoth. The other one didn't really impact us as much. We were never going to get Torts on our team. However, my target on Randon's coaching big board of dreams, Pete DeBoer, gone. He has been picked up by the New York Islanders. Patrick Waugh out as head coach of the New York Islanders. This is the second time in a week a playoff team has fired their head coach and hired somebody else. I don't think that has happened in recent memory in the NHL. What's going on with coaching changes?
Ever.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I understand, like, no, I don't get either one. You got 4 games left. I get it. I understand your coach lost the room, but how are you going to win the room back in 4 games? Are you all just looking at Rick Bowness in Columbus and being like, well, it worked out for Rick Bowness, maybe it'll work for us? Because it hasn't worked out for Columbus, because they're on a losing skid right now, falling out. So I don't get it. I don't know how a coach can come in 4 games and win a room back. But my other thing is, do you think Patrick Waugh had to be escorted? Like, do you think they waited for him to not be at the building to do that? Like, for the safety of everyone involved, did they wait for him to be, like, at his house or, like, on the road? What do you think happened with that?
You fire him like what you do in that situation. I don't know what their last game is, but you typically want to fire that coach on the road, and you fire them on the tarmac when the team is already on the plane. And he was like, sorry, coach, you don't got a ticket. And then just leave them there. That's how you handle that situation.
I don't know if Patrick Waugh's the kind of guy you can do that to, because I feel like Patrick Waugh will show up at your house with a gun. I've got a gut feeling he'll do that.
He's going to be throwing hands.
I do think there is a slight, like, maybe connection here to the Utah Mammoth, just because, Ryan, you said earlier, like, you were a little worried about Veggie just because VTech is behind him. I know he's 60. I bet you Patrick Waugh has a couple of games in him left, right? He's the greatest to ever do it. He knows, like, he could probably tell us how to beat the Avalanche. He knows that team just a little bit. So, like, does he got a game, 2 in him to give Veggie a rest in the playoffs? Just bring him in, say, VTech, thanks for the season. We'll see you not next year, probably never again. But Patrick's going to take your spot, put him down at the end of the bench, and just ride that all the way to the Stanley Cup.
Did you imagine we do that in Colorado? Joe Sakic starts. He's like, I'm in. I'm not doing this.
That would be some good old-fashioned, old-time hockey. Or at least, I wonder if, I don't think Patrick Waugh gets another shot in the NHL, not anytime soon, at least not as a head coach. I don't think he was exceptionally bad at the Islanders. I just think it just didn't work out, you know? His claim to fame is...
He's not a good coach.
No.
Have we not realized that if you are a Hall of Famer, if you're a top 3 Hall of Fame position player, you probably aren't going to make a great coach. But
you can't coach.
If you have 1,000 penalty minutes and, 0 points, or I guess Craig Berube is a bad example. He has like 500 points. But like, it's the 4th line grinders. It's the defensemen. I don't know if I trust a goalie to run my team. You know what I mean? They're the most emotional guys on the ice. And Patrick Waugh might be the most emotional man who's plain and simple ever lived. Like, that man runs, his heart is not even on his sleeve. It's gone. It is out there, like, and I can't see another team trusting him. Like, sure, the Islanders were good this last year, but, like, it's because of Matthew Schaefer. Patrick Waugh didn't do shit. Matthew Schaefer literally saved that organization.
And this season, they lived by Ilya Sorokin, and they're dying by Ilya Sorokin, because it's one of those things like,
no,
we're running...
Schaefer had 4 empty net saves the other night, so they have a backup goalie in Matthew Schaefer.
Because I brought this up, so Patrick Waugh's claim to coaching fame is that he would pull the goalie at the most absurd times, and in his final game against, was it Philadelphia? He pulls him with over 7 minutes left. Now, I get it, you're down by 3. But that's
it's like he wants
little
to get fired.
Ambitious.
It's like he wants to get fired.
That's ambitious for the best of us. But again, I guess you're at that point, you're saying, listen, we're down by 3. We've got to do something. And that's the only thing I can think to work is to put on another guy. But then you've got the same 5 guys on the ice for however long that is. Like that's the problem when you're pulling goalies out early, is because you don't want to pull your 6 guys off the ice. You're not rolling 4 lines 6 on 5. You're playing essentially your power play 1 for however long you have the goalie pulled. And that just like, it's just not sustainable, right? It's just not sustainable. So happy trails to Patrick Waugh, and Pete DeBoer gets 4 years with the Islanders. So he coaches them for the rest of the season, then 4 more years. So he's off the table, Mammoth fans. It's now ride or die with Andre Tourigny, or your next best option is still under contract with Tampa Bay.
I was going to say
I guarantee he wants to leave.
The next best option, the other guy that we had on our wish list, like, I have still not seen details of this extension he's supposedly signed with the Lightning. So, like, but the word on the street is he signed an extension with them. So, like, he's probably locked up. DeBoer's gone. Torts is in Vegas, but Torts has never come here anyway. But, like, who's left on the wish list? You know, if we go into next
Cassidy,
season,
baby,
and
Bruce Cassidy.
Cassidy is that you just take the fired coach from the good team and you take that to replace your coach. It's just musical chairs amongst NHL coaches.
That's coaching, baby. It's just it's a carousel. Hey, he's got a cup.
We talked about that last week about how just like the different standards between Utah and Vegas. Utah is just like, well, we've gotten better every year. Woo, tyranny. And Vegas is like, yeah, you want us to Stanley Cup, and yeah, we're going to make the playoffs this year, but you're not good enough. You're gone.
Did anybody see that?
Let's just be honest. Tourney's not going anywhere. Like, we just need to accept the fact that he's not going anywhere, especially if we make the playoffs this year. Especially if we win a playoff series this year, that's getting an extension.
It's going to take a colossal failure at the start of next season for Tyranny to lose his job. Like, we're going to have to come out of the gates like 2-8 like that.
I don't even think that. I don't even think if we were a lottery team next year. I think GMBA, as he has said multiple times, Tyranny has earned his chance to win with this team. And it's like, well, they keep winning. So God damn it.
How silly is that? Like, look at what it does to us as sports fans. Like, we're going to make the playoffs, and we're saying, God damn it, that we keep winning because
we still don't like him.
Yeah, we don't like cheering. Like, coaching does, or fandom does weird-ass things to your brain.
Humans are weird
Wasn't there a stat that it was only Paul Maurice who had 5 straight seasons with point improvement? Did I read that wrong? Because I'm looking at his.
Tourney's got 4.
I'm looking at his stats and I don't see it.
The only other one is Torts, I believe.
Okay. And so I guess that's the thing is like that's the claim to fame. Like, right? Like, how long though? Because like eventually you're getting to a point like, are we going to win the President's Trophy in 5 years? Because he's just gonna increase his points thing by 4 points every season.
No President's Trophy. No.
Because the expectations are going to be even higher next season than they are this season. Next season is the first time I think we're expected to truly start to compete in the Central Division, not just for a wild card. I think we're trying to compete for at least the 3rd in the Central. And then it just gets worse in terms of the expectation each season. So 2, 3, 4 points better every season is not going to cut it. It's no longer going to cut it. Because this season, if this was last season, we'd still be out of the playoffs. Right? Like, we just wouldn't have enough points.
If we were in the East, we'd be like 5 spots out of the playoffs.
Yeah. This is
it's not as if we're running away with the wild card spot, you know. And the importance of having the right guy behind the bench right now, just with the skill that's on the team, the youth that we have, and how good granted, I know it's all just based on like hype and what they might turn into, whatnot, but the guys that we have coming up through the pipeline are minors. The combination of how good we are there with how good this team is now, with how young they are right now, we are perfectly in position to compete for a lot of years from this point on. It's very important to have the right guy behind the bench.
But can we all think Winnipeg is going to suck next year? Are we all just going to think Winnipeg is just going to be bad again? No. Minnesota legitimately gets better every year, and I don't know how, because Bill Guerin is just an incredible GM. Colorado doesn't lose. Edmonton, this could be their last year with McDavid, but Anaheim's getting better. Vegas, I can't ever count Vegas out as a team. So if we ever want to compete in the Western Conference, like Brandon was saying, a couple points a season isn't going to do it. Like 2 or 3 points a year. No, we need to get 10. Like if we want to compete, we're going to have to jump what? What does Minnesota have point-wise right now?
We need to have 100 points.
Yeah, and we're going to finish.
Minnesota's right at 100 right now.
If we win out right now, what are we at?
90. We can get to 98.
We can get to
if
98
we win.
if we win
That's
out.
not good. Yeah, that's not good enough if we want to be, especially with the kids we have coming up. If we want to, you know what I mean? Like, especially, I don't know if you guys have noticed, the kids nowadays have a lot more power and a lot more say in what they want to do. And if we're not going to be a team competing for them, what's for them to come up and be like, well, just trade me. I don't want to play. You know what I mean? You guys, I don't want to be in a Seattle situation where it's just mid. Everything about it is mid. I don't want to be Phoenix where everything about the Coyotes was mid at best. And as much as I don't like Turney, I respect him as a coach because I don't think he's lost the room. I wouldn't go that far. I think we all can agree he hasn't lost the room. It's the fans that don't like him. And I think it probably says more about us than it does Turney that we are so vocally against him. But what I would love to see if Utah could just come out next year, no matter how this year goes, if we just come out next year and play like Minnesota is playing this year, I'll love the guy forever. If he can find a way to unlock that final step in the guys, because there's glimpses of it. Turney has moments where he's a phenomenal coach. Like, as much as we hate the line changes, sometimes it works out to where he'll make a line change and bam, they go out and score. And we're all like, well, we look dumb complaining. But other times he does it and nothing happens and he looks dumb. And we're going to complain about that too. But he needs to get little improvements here and there is one thing, but I need that big final step. Otherwise, we got to look in a different direction. Because being on the cusp of great and just middling and good is not good enough anymore. We are at that point where we should be great.
Now, the Tierney's got one more year on his deal, right? Or is this the last year of his current deal? So he's got one more year.
I'm willing to bet he gets an extension this summer.
I was going to say, if you're GMBA, how do you handle that? Do you extend him based off of this season?
You win a playoff series? Yes.
Or do you wait until next year and see where you are a quarter of the way through the year and then say, okay, then decide at that point, okay, we're either going to cut you loose and get our coach for the future or we're going to extend you? And how does Tierney handle that? Because I highly doubt he wants to go into the final year of his contract without an extension and risk that, what if I get off to a bad start? Am I going to lose my job? So how do you handle that? Maybe that's a topic for an off-season show, just because we're so in depth into playoff talk right now. But that is something that I've kind of got on the back burner to keep my eye on. We've sort of drug our feet to the point where this is going to be a really potentially sticky, messy situation with his contract.
I hope they're not even talking about it right now. I hope they both have kind of looked at each other and been like, we will talk about this either in the offseason or in a year. I don't necessarily like firing a coach mid-season. I don't like firing a coach with 4 games left as a respect kind of thing. I think that's dumb. I think Bruce Cassidy and Patrick Waugh deserve more than that. You know what I mean? Let them finish out the year. Whether you make the playoffs and whatever happens, happens. But I would say if we win a playoff series and we go into round 2, I would say give him a 2 or 3 year extension. Hey man, you know what I mean? You've earned at least another try at something. But a 1-year deal for a coach is dumb. I don't like that either. But unless we get off to a catastrophic failure next year, I can't see him going anywhere.
And that's kind of the interesting thing too about when you look at the firings, the Bruce Cassidy one makes no sense to me because there's no details about how long Torts is going to be there after this season. And so that one it must have just been the locker room just hated the guy for them to make that move now with a guy like Tortorella, which it's working though. It's working. They're 4-0 in the Torts era, but The Islanders, however, made a deal where they were like, Patrick Waugh is not our coach of the future, and it doesn't matter about the playoffs this year. We're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year, but we need to find our guy for when we might be able to win the Stanley Cup in maybe 2, 3, 4 years. And that's why they went and got DeBoer now. Because if they wait, DeBoer is not making it very long into the summer before somebody picks him up. Because there are going to be a slew of head coaches fired as soon as the playoffs begin or are concluded. And I agree with the take that if Turney wins a playoff series, his job is safe for a few more years, whether I like it or not. But if he wins a playoff series, then I have to like it, right? Like, he's our guy. However, if he gets swept, then it all comes down to what was GM Bill Armstrong's actual, if you put a gun to his head, what was his expectation for the season? And I don't think he actually, in his heart of hearts, thought playoffs are bust. I think he is looking so far into the future that what happens this year, hell, what happens next year, is really not that big of a concern for him, because I think he sees the 2, 3, 4 years now in the future is when it really is going to matter. So that's where he has to decide, is Turney my coach for the next 4 years? Or, does he actually want John Cooper? We made a lot of the conspiracy theories that our owner and John Cooper get along. Has anybody asked GM Bill Armstrong his opinions on John Cooper, if he wants that guy? Because at some point, the owner has a say, but you pay the GM the big bucks to make those decisions. So even if we as fans may want John Cooper, does Bill Armstrong want Bill Cooper? Or is Andre Turney really GMBA's guy, and it's like any amount of improvement, regardless of what we think is good or not, is enough improvement? And I would not be shocked to see, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, I would not be shocked to see a 2 or 3 year extension coming Turney's way. If we don't win the first series, I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm not going to be upset about it, but I would really, I don't know, because if we go through another November next year like we did this year, that's unacceptable. It's acceptable from any coach with a team this good to go that bad through an entire month of hockey.
And November is the perfect time to fire a coach. Just saying. I'm okay with a November firing.
Because you got so much time for your new coach to implement his system and build what he wants to build. So, but we'll see what happens long term.
You have to have a catastrophic October and November to be eliminated from a playoff hunt. You know what I mean?
And,
you can have a
October.
Bad November and a bad October and still make a comeback. Look, the hell, the Blues do it every year. Look at them now. They're only a few points. The Blues are fighting back they do it every year. So, but I'm also not opposed to firing a coach in November, but I feel like I want to know, why GMBA is so attached to Turney. I get that he's not a bad coach. He's clearly a good coach. But I think we've brought this up before, is he a coach for winning, or is he a developmental coach? And it's kind of leaning towards, yeah, you can develop guys, Turney, but can you finish the job kind of way? And I don't know if he's got that kind of coaching in him. Like Paul Maurice kind of does, where Paul Maurice he's kind of came into Florida and just took over and they just kind of took off and got, you know what I mean? And whereas some guys there's the coach in Denver for the University of Denver. He's won 9 out of 11 national championships. So I'm don't quote me on that, but it's a lot, or Final Frozen Fours maybe. It's ridiculous how good he is. But even he has said he's not trying to coach in the NHL because he wants to develop kids, not be that final level of a coach. And I'm wondering, maybe Turney should be kind of in that kind of spot, an AHL coach.
I think that's something we suggested before on this show. But yeah, the November, and the problem with November that I really had is we were so good in October. We came out of October 8-3 with victories over Colorado, Minnesota, Winnipeg. We were good in October. We're okay, we're making the playoffs. This team is good. Something clicked this offseason. And then November came, oh, okay, this is who they are. oddly enough, I think October saved Tyranny's job, because if they were that bad in October and continued into November, I think they would have made a change. So those wins early on probably saved that job.
No doubt. And the team has been good in the calendar year 2026. Much better to start 2026 have been recently. They're starting to kind of regress back to the mean, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because at this point I could flip a coin to tell you what I think might or might not happen. But at this point, I think I owe it to Turney, as a lifelong Turney hater, to, if he can come out and he beats Edmonton and he beats Nashville and he beats Carolina and secures wildcard 1 with 3 games remaining in the season, I will support him. Like, I have to support him, because he's got the team where I want them to be, at least as good as they could be this year, right? Like, even if they have 99 points, there's still, it's a better spot to be wildcard 1 than Central 3 right now. Like, that's just the fact of the matter is, and I don't think there's 4D chess going on that he's making sure he gets in wildcard 1 to avoid it. Like, but if he secures wildcard 1, I might claim that he played 4D chess this whole time to rope-a-dope everybody to just make sure that the Mammoth didn't somehow sneak in to that Central Division spot number 3, which is a significantly harder path than wildcard 1. But he's got to do it. He's got 3 games to do it in. Guys, we've gone an hour now. Look at us go.
We were at the 20-minute mark, and this episode was probably the one where I was most like, what are we going to talk about now? And then 40 minutes later, we haven't shut up. Like, it happens every week, but tonight really felt like, I looked at the 20-minute mark, I was like, what are we going to go to now? I have no idea. I was ready to bring up Nick Schmaltz of the Week.
Hey, let's give a Nick Schmaltz of the Week.
So I
who's
feel like if you go by just production over the last 2 or 3 games, it's Logan Cooley. But you give it to Keller because of the hat trick. Keller is just a consistent, like, even if he's not scoring goals, he's making things happen. But, like, you expect that from your captain. But Cooley's been, 5 goals over the last 3? 2, and 1, I feel like, is what he's done. I'm not looking up stats, so I'm going off just fuzzy memory. So
I'm going to look up the stats right now. Clayton Keller, Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley are all tied at 5 points. And they're all, coincidentally, +2 in the plus-minus. Clayton Keller has 3 goals, 2 assists. Guenther and Cooley have 2 goals and 3 assists. And then Nick Schmaltz is in 4th place with 3 points with Kyler Yamamoto. But I would be fine giving it to Logan Cooley because of an impressive 56 point. Look at Logan Cooley. His worst attribute.
He was, if I remember right, he was bad at faceoffs last year.
Awful.
He was
horrible.
Not just like he loses a little bit more. He was bad at faceoffs last year. I feel like
he was a liability in the faceoff dot last year.
Sub 40%, but that was his big thing about his big question mark is how is he going to be a 1C taking faceoffs like that? But over these last 2 games, 56.5. 56.5. If you add the third one, though, and I shortchanged him because I didn't include the Los Angeles Kings game. If you include the Los Angeles Kings game, Logan Cooley jumps up to 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. His face-off percentage does take a hit. It does take a hit. But, yes, I'm more than happy to give Logan Cooley the Nick Schmaltz.
In his defense, he had to go up against probably Kopitar all night, and that's not fun.
4 power play points.
It's
Keller.
Too bad that they don't play on the same line. Keller, Guenther, and Cooley. Because then I could just give it to a line, right? We haven't done that all year.
No. Long term, I want Schmaltz and Guenther to play together. But listen to this. Clayton Keller's been a power play merchant over the last 3 games. 7 points, 4 of which are on the power play. Logan Cooley has 5 of his 7 at even strength. Logan Cooley, my man, you are the Nick Schmaltz of the Week award winner.
My God, you say power play merchant, and I got to look up who it was because I was during the Canuck game. I was driving, so I was listening to there's a Folta on the radio broadcast.
Yes, Folta.
I'm listening to Folta, and I think it was DeBrusque. He scored a power play goal. That man has 19 goals on the season. 16 of them are power play goals. He has 3 even strength goals and 16 power play goals. You want to talk about power play merchant? It's Jake DeBrusque.
You know, speaking of power play merchants, this is why when people talk about who won the trade, Josh Doan, JJ Peterka, Josh Doan is a power play merchant this season. He is absolutely a power play merchant. He has way more power play points. He was a lot more of a merchant previously. He's kind of taken a dive on his power play production. But
Michael
JJ
Kesselring,
Peterka, hands down.
Michael Kesselring, since the trade deadline, has been a healthy scratch most games. So, really, the trade argument becomes who would you rather have, Josh Doan or JJ Peterka? And I think it's 50-50. Each one of them provides a different thing for the team.
This is true. But I like, obviously, I like JJ
I would love
Peterka.
to have Josh Doan back. I like JJ Peterka too, but I would also love if we could also just have Josh Doan back. And he
23
keep playing.
goals, 9 of them are power play goals for Josh Doan.
I just want you to look at the plus minus, though. Josh Doan sucks. He's a liability out on the ice. JJ's
It's
plus
because
8,
he's on the
JJ.
penalty kill. He's on the penalty kill.
It doesn't count. No, it doesn't count. Penalty kill
Wait, they
goals
don't?
don't count against your plus minus.
They
Nope,
don't?
they don't count. They
Oh,
don't
then
count.
maybe he doesn't
Nope,
kill
they don't
penalties.
I
count.
did not know that.
Yeah,
I
doesn't
didn't
count
know that
against
This
your
is
plus
why you
minus.
listen to the 2-line pass. Even we learn things while we record.
Doesn't count. I think. I hope. I don't
think.
know. You know what I think it does? I think you get. I don't think you get a plus. I don't think you get a plus for a power play goal either. I don't think you get a plus or a minus for power play or penalty kill.
Penalty kill.
I'm going to go on record as saying I believe that's how it
count
works.
Against your
No, they do not.
plus minus.
Yes. So JJ Peterka is significantly better. Josh Doan's out there liability after liability.
No, wait. Unless a shorthanded goal is scored.
If
If
you
you
score a
score a
shorthanded
shorty,
goal,
you get
it's
a plus.
+1.
But otherwise, nobody gets anything. They're just like, we'll reward you for that, but we will not punish everybody else for sucking.
So there we go. So there you have it. JJ Peterka significantly better than Josh Doan. Utah wins the trade, hands down.
A great week this year.
Yeah, great week this year. It's happening. It'll be
That's
his only
the motto
one.
for life. This is a good week to have a good year or a good year to have a good week, whichever you want. But we are almost out of time. Final thoughts, guys. Big 3 games coming up at home. Final thoughts before we get on out of here.
4 points or nothing.
We're locked into at least a wild card spot by the next time we record.
Which will be Sunday night after the Calgary Flames game. I'm going to reverse jinx us. We go 0-3. Calgary becomes a must-win game. We're going 0-3 on this homestand. You can book
I'm
that.
gonna punch you
can
right in the face.
Go to your bookmaker.
If
go to
this
your
actually
bookmaker.
happens, I'm going to punch you
Go to
right
your-
in the face.
Go to your bookmaker and you book 3 straight losses for the Utah
Right before
Mammoth.
your cruise, I'm going to pot you just right in the eye and just ruin
Yeah.
all of Ashley's photos.
But guess what? We sure do suck tonight. Yeah, suck like a
I've done that
fox.
before. I've done the ruin all the photos thing before,
All I'm saying is
specifically for Randon and Ashley.
here's
It's always fun.
Here's people ask like, why can you be negative on like so Dustin? There was somebody who commented on a post you made about like, well, why are you so negative all the time? And I was thinking, and I was like, well, shit, why am I so negative all the time? And it's a defense mechanism. The answer is easy, right? Like if I'm always optimistic, I get hurt. If I assume the team's going to lose, I'm either right and I'm okay, or we win and I'm okay. So like either way, I'm okay. Like that's the way we should all live our lives with these super low expectations.
See, the thing that I'll say to that, because I didn't address it on social media because I just don't want to feed the trolls, whatever. That the guy who said that, by the way, doesn't follow me. He only sees the stuff of mine that gets retweeted. And unfortunately, when we're losing and we're playing poorly and I send a tweet that says, hey, look, guys, we're playing poorly, people like it, retweet it. So you see it, right? If you want an avenue that gives you constant positivity and like these guys are really trying, we have a TV broadcast for that, right? We were behind 1-0 really early against the Canucks the other night, and we hear, oh man, that's the second really good defensive read by JJ Peterka tonight. He's on the ball. If you want the constant positivity, there are avenues for you to get it. But when I'm trying to cover a hockey team, and they're playing a team who has been as bad recently as Seattle has, and they fall behind 2-0 in the first 13 minutes of that game negatively about how they're playing because they're playing poorly. I'm not gonna, we're down 2-0, but they've been really close on a couple of these and they're really trying, so let's give them our support. I'm gonna cover the team the way that they should be covered, which is when they're playing poorly, I'm going to talk about how they're playing, which is poorly. So if you want constant positivity, there are people and avenues for that. If you want actual legitimate coverage of the team and how things are going, this is me.
2 points. Also, guys, if you want that positivity, you've got to engage with the positivity. Like, liking a positive post is one thing, but people only comment on the negative. That's why rage baiting is so popular and so effective, because you're not out there. If we're like, we're the best team in the world, you're not replying, I agree, we are. Like, but if I say we're the worst team in the league, you're like, you suck, I hate you. Like, that's what drives engagement. So engage with positivity, comment why. Don't just like, and I'm the like extraordinaire, like, right? Like, my hobby is scrolling through my Twitter feed, just hearting anything that is Mammoth, you know? So I'm one of the biggest offenders of it, but I agree, I don't care. I'll engage with the positive and the negative. So you reap what you sow, Mammoth fans, and you're gonna reap an 0-3, which means 3-0 in my reverse jinx world.
So I got 2 points.
Okay, go.
2 points. Number one, if you want positivity on this podcast, Ryan Smith can start cutting checks, and in which case, we'll be the most positive podcast on earth. That's what you know what I mean? But we are sellouts. You can buy the two-line pass opinions. If you pay us money, we will say what you want us to say on this podcast. Without a doubt. And number two, my point was, am I an asshole if I only notice Nick Olczyk's lisp when we're losing? It's the only time I ever notice it. If we're losing and he starts talking, I notice his lisp. If we're winning...
I've never noticed a lisp.
Yeah, he has a hard... It's bad. No, it's bad. Go really? Listen to it. Is okay. I don't mean that to lie. I'm not trying to make fun of a disabled person. I understand there's a Disabilities Act, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, am I an asshole for I only notice it if we're losing?
But Nick Folta has one too, but that's one thing that like impresses me so much. Because whether it's like their journalism degrees or whatever, their communication degrees or whatever, but you don't notice it unless you're intentionally listening to it, or they're outside their element. And otherwise, like, you just listen to, like, Nick Olczyk has such a developed and specific speech pattern that he does such a great job of hiding it. Same thing with Mike Folta. The only way I notice it with Mike Folta is when he's on the radio stations. That's the only time, when he's talking through his phone to the radio stations, and then you can kind of hear it come out there. But that's just how professional and good they are, that they can, like, they know how to hide it. But
it probably doesn't hurt that your dad is Mike Olczyk, you know, one of the greatest broadcasts. Eddie. Oh, no, I'm thinking of Mike Milbury. I get the two of them confused because they look oddly similar. But it doesn't hurt that you have Eddie Olczyk as a dad. You know, that kind of helps with that. But yeah, next time you watch a game, Dustin, now that I brought it up, you will notice it hardcore.
Okay, I will say, as somebody who growing up had a speech impediment, I couldn't pronounce the letter R. They came out as W, so I'd be like, I'm going to go to the stove. So as somebody who had a speech impediment growing up, I will say that is not an asshole move. I'm like a black man giving his friend an N-word pass, whatever. I will allow you to talk about that. It's okay in my book.
There you go, fans. We can say what we want.
We found the TikTok. We found the clip.
We got it. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great night.